Hello everyone, welcome you back in my geography class. This video is a continuation video where we will continue with the discussion of institutional and technological reforms introduced by the Indian government to improve and enhance the agriculture sector from the chapter Agriculture of class 10. In the last video, we have discussed about the problems of agriculture. Now, as we have discussed that Indian agriculture face a lot of problems. In India, agriculture is an important economic activity. About 60% of India's population earn its livelihood from agriculture. So it is very important to bring out certain technological and institutional reforms to improve the agriculture sector, to enhance the agricultural productivity and to redistribute the land among the landless laborers. So the Indian government has introduced certain agricultural reforms. Now let us know about the agricultural reforms that has been introduced by the Indian government. Now what do you mean by agricultural reforms? Agricultural reforms. It is referred as the technological and institutional reforms for increasing agricultural productivity. So what do you mean by the agricultural reforms? It is referred as the technological and institutional reforms for increasing agriculture productivity. So now let us know about the institutional reforms that were introduced by the Indian government to improve the condition of the farmers. So let us know about the institutional reforms. After the independence, the main focus of the government of Free India was on land reforms. So we can say that land reforms was the main focus of the first 5-year plan, because if land reforms are not done, then how the farmers will be able to feed the increasing population? And being an independent nation, the government wanted to provide food security to each and everyone. Now under the land reforms, there were different institutional reforms which were introduced, and they are: number one, the abolition of zamindari system. Now what do you mean by zamindari system? Now at the end of the 18th century, the Britishers introduced the zamindari system for their own benefit. Who were the zamindars? The zamindars were the social elite class who has a right to collect the tax. Now zamindars became landlords in perpetuity, and they were the intermediaries between the colonial rulers and the peasants. Now peasants have to pay the fixed revenue to the zamindars, and if they are unable to pay the revenue, then they were evicted from the land and they used to become the landless laborers. Now India, after its independence, they wanted to abolish the intermediaries and want to bring a change in the revenue system which should be favorable for the cultivators, and that can be possible by abolishing zamindari system. And also the zamindari system was abolished so that the land can be redistributed among the landless poor peasants. Number two was the Land Ceiling Act. Now what do you mean by ceiling? Ceiling means settling maximum size of the holding that an individual can have. That means the land is settled, that this is the maximum size of the land holding that an individual can have. Now, if an individual have land above the ceiling, that land is considered as the surplus land. So, which is the surplus land? The land above the ceiling. Now, this surplus land will be redistributed among the small farmers. Among the small farmers. So, ceiling was placed on the land in a view to check the growth of large land holdings in future. So, this was the Land Ceiling Act. Then, the government also introduced the collectivization and consolidation of the land holdings. Now, consolidation was carried out by the government as the lands were scattered and it led to wastage of land. Also, the consolidation of land holdings were important due to the right to inheritance, which divides the land holdings into smaller units. So, smaller units means it would reduce the productivity. So it was important to consolidate the land holdings and to introduce collectivization so that the lands should be consolidated and collectively the farmers can produce on a large plot of land, which will increase the productivity from a particular plot of land, which is not possible due to fragmentation of land as there is right to inheritance. We would also see that government has also introduced cooperatives. Now, what happened in cooperatives? The cooperative society is a society which composed of many farmers, where the farmers, what they do, they pool their resources for different activities. Here the cooperatives provide loans at very low interest. With the help of the cooperatives, the farmers get benefited because cooperatives help in procuring and providing different agricultural inputs like the seeds or fertilizers, which was not possible for a small farmer to buy. Like fertilizers, the seeds are not possible for the small farmer to buy. So cooperatives help in increasing the agricultural productivity. So this were the institutional reforms that were introduced by the Government of India under the land reform, that is abolition of Zamindari system, Land Ceiling Act, collectivization and consolidation of the land holdings, and the cooperatives. Now, what do you mean by cooperative? Cooperative is referred as a group of farmers. Now, here the farmers pool their resources for various activities. Here in the cooperatives, loans are provided at low interest rate. The cooperatives benefit the farmers, especially the small farmers, because they can procure and the cooperatives provide agricultural inputs like seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, which was not possible for the small farmer to buy, as because the cooperatives are providing loan at low interest, so small farmers can procure and can buy the agricultural inputs. So the cooperatives help the small farmers and it helps to increase the agricultural productivity. So these are the institutional reforms that were introduced under the land reforms, that is abolition of Zamindari system, Land Ceiling Act, collectivization and consolidation of land holdings, and cooperatives, which helped to increase the agricultural production. But there was a problem. What was the problem? The law of land reform was enacted but the implementation was lacking and lukewarm. So the government introduced the technological reforms in the year 1960s to 1970s. Now let us know about the technological reforms that were introduced by the government. The technological reforms. So the Government of India in the 1960s to 70s introduced the technological reforms. And which are the technological reforms? They are: number one, the Green Revolution. Now, what do you mean by the Green Revolution? Green Revolution is referred as the large increase in food grains production with the use of high-yielding variety of seeds, artificial fertilizers, pesticides, and this helped to increase the food grain production. So the Government of India introduced several technological reforms in the 1960s to 70s, and the most important is the Green Revolution, which referred as a large increase in food grains production with the use of high-yielding variety of seeds, artificial fertilizers, pesticides, which helped to increase the food grain production. The Government of India has also introduced White Revolution, which was another technological reform. Now, what is White Revolution? It refers to the revolution in the field of dairy. That means it is related to production of milk. White Revolution is also known as the Operation Flood. Now, White Revolution is a cooperative approach which harnessed the milch animal husbandry. Now, in White Revolution, what happened? The middlemen were eliminated in the farmer market, and this has helped to increase production of milk. So a question can also come that write a short note on White Revolution. So what is White Revolution? It is revolution in the field of dairy. It is also called Operation Flood. It is a cooperative approach which harnesses the milch animal husbandry. Here it eliminates the middlemen in the farmer market chain, and it helped to increase the production of milk. And this is referred as White Revolution. And you can give example of Amul, which is a cooperative which has increased and expanded due to the White Revolution. So under the technological reforms, we have the Green Revolution and the White Revolution. So both the technological reforms that were introduced by the Government of India, the Green Revolution and White Revolution, they were successful, but they were successful only in few states. Like the Green Revolution was successful in the states of Punjab and Haryana, and the White Revolution was successful in the state of Gujarat. So we can say that though the technological reforms was introduced in view to increase the productivity of whole country, but somewhere it led to the concentration of development only in few states, and most part of the countries did not get benefited by the Green Revolution and the White Revolution. So in terms of technological reforms also, we can see that the technological reforms were enacted, but the implementation of the technological reforms was not successful in all over the country. In most part of the country, the Green Revolution, White Revolution did not help in increase of production, neither in dairy production, neither in production of food grains. So somewhere the implementation was lacking and it was lukewarm. That is why the government introduced another program, the Comprehensive Land Development Program, to improve the condition of agriculture in India. Now let us know about the Comprehensive Land Development Program. The Comprehensive Land Development Program. So the Government of India in the year 1980s and 1990s introduced the Comprehensive Land Development Program, which includes both institutional and technological reforms. So before there was only institutional reforms that were introduced, and then there were technological reforms, and now in this Comprehensive Land Development Program, the Government of India has introduced both institutional and technological reforms. Under the Comprehensive Land Development Program, you would see that it includes provision of crop insurance against drought, flood, fire, cyclone, or any disease, which was not there before. So now under the Comprehensive Land Development Program, it included provision of crop insurance against drought, flood, fire, cyclone, or any disease. It also includes agricultural finance, which includes the establishment of Grameen banks, that are the regional rural banks, cooperative societies, and other banks. Why? To provide loans to the farmers, especially the small farmers, at low interest rate. So under the Comprehensive Land Development Program, agriculture finance is also included, where Grameen banks, the regional rural banks, were established along with cooperative societies and other banks which would provide loans especially to the small farmers at low interest rates. Now let us know about the other programs that were introduced by the Government of India. Now let us know about the other reforms which were introduced by the Government of India that would benefit the farmers. Under the other reforms, Kishan credit cards were introduced, which would provide cheap and easy loans to the small farmers. There was personal insurance scheme, PAIS, for the Kishan credit card holders who will get the personal insurance scheme. There were different awareness programs which was introduced by the government, like the special weather bulletins and agricultural programs were introduced through radio and television, which would help the farmers to know about the weather conditions and also about different agricultural activities or agriculture related problems which were not solved before. There was introduction of Kishan call centers where the farmers can give a call and can ask their queries and where they will get a solution of their queries. Now earlier, the price of the agricultural products were totally dependent on the various traders, because most of the time the small farmers, they used to take loans from the traders at a very high interest rate, and they were forced to sell their agricultural products to the traders only. And the traders used to pay any amount they wished to in exchange of the agricultural products. But now the government has also introduced the minimum support price for various agricultural products, like for pulses, for cereals. Why? To check the exploitation of the farmers by the middlemen. So the government has also introduced or announced the minimum support price for various agricultural products, which would increase the agricultural production and also to check the exploitation of farmers by the middlemen. So this was the institutional reforms, the technological reforms, the comprehensive land development program, and the other reforms that were introduced by the government. Now when we're talking about the institutional reforms, we should know about the Bhoodan-Gramdan, that is the bloodless revolution. So now let us know about the bloodless revolution. Now let us know about the Bhoodan-Gramdan. Vinoba Bhave was declared as the spiritual heir of Mahatma Gandhi. He also took part in the Satyagraha movement initiated by Mahatma Gandhi. He was one of the votaries of Gandhiji's concept of Gram Swarajya. After Gandhiji's death, he undertook Padyatra so that he can spread Gandhiji's message. While he was delivering a lecture at Pochampally in Andhra Pradesh, some landless poor villagers stood up and demanded for some land for economic activity. Now at that time, Vinoba Bhave could not promise them, but he assured them to talk to the Government of India regarding the provision of land if they undertake the cooperative farming. At that time, suddenly Sri Ramchandra stood up and offered 80 acres of land to be distributed among 80 landless farmers. And this act was known as Bhudan, that means Dan of Bhumi, that is referred as Bhudan. Now after this act of Bhudan, Vinoba Bhave also travelled to other villages so that he can spread his message. There we would see that some zamindars and the village owners, they offered to distribute some villages. Why the zamindars wanted to offer land or villages for distribution? Because they were in fear of the Land Ceiling Act, and this was known as the Gramdan. After the Bhoodan Act, Vinoba Bhave traveled to other villages so that he can spread his message. There we would see that some other zamindars and village owners, they also offered to distribute some villages, and which is known as the Gramdan. Now why some of the land owners wanted to distribute their land? Because they were in fear of the Land Ceiling Act. Now this Bhoodan-Gramdan movement, which was initiated by Vinoba Bhave, was known as bloodless revolution. That means without any blood connection, where the land are redistributed and provided to the landless poor farmers. So this movement of Bhoodan-Gramdan, initiated by Vinoba Bhave, was known as a bloodless revolution. A question can come, what is bloodless revolution? Who initiated the Bhoodan? Who initiated or introduced the Bhoodan-Gramdan movement? The answer will be Vinoba Bhave. And what is bloodless revolution? Bloodless revolution is referred as the redistribution of land by the zamindars or by the landowners to the landless poor farmers. That is referred as the bloodless revolution. I hope all of you understood the topics that we have covered in today's video. We have discussed about the institutional reforms that were introduced by the Government of India, about the technological reforms, about the comprehensive land development program, and other reforms that were introduced by the Government of India. And also we have discussed about the Bhoodan-Gramdan movement or the bloodless revolution, which was introduced by Vinoba Bhave, the spiritual heir of Mahatma Gandhi. I hope all of you understood it very well. What you will do now, you will read your books thoroughly. If you have any problem or any suggestion, you can comment in the comment box given below. You will find in the description box the link of the part 1 video, which you can just click and watch the part 1 video, which is related to this topic, the institutional and technological reforms. If you like my video, do share my video and don't forget to hit the like button. If you're new to my channel, do subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon to get the further notification of my recent videos. Stay tuned. I will be back soon with a new topic, that is contribution of agriculture in GDP. Until then, take care, stay safe. Thank you.